Hey, how's it going? Thanks for checking out my session on facilitating unforgettable experiences through First LEGO League. Before we get started, I wanted to introduce myself, tell you a little bit about me. My name's Clint Rogers, and I've been a technology facilitator for 8 years with Moore County Schools. Before that, I was a 4th grade teacher for 3 years, and then I was a 5th grade teacher for 3 years. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Lauren. We have a 3-year-old, Ellie. She takes up a lot of our time, as you can probably imagine. I'm a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan, fly Eagles fly, and I've been a FLL coach for 3 years. So now that you know a little bit about me, let's get started. So I created this session for both people who have never heard of First LEGO League before. Maybe you just want to learn about it. You've never heard of it, so you want to know what it's about. But I've also created this session for people who have heard of FLL before, and maybe you're just looking for some pointers. I've also included some interviews from some kids who were a part of FLL for the first year, last year. I've included videos of kids who have been veterans on an FLL team. I've included videos of parents and getting their perspective from their kids being a part of FLL, as well as administration, so how a principal feels about FLL. Each year, FLL has a new theme. In the top left, you'll notice there's the Into Orbit logo. That was from a couple years ago, where we learned all about space and how people who travel through space, some problems they may have, and we developed solutions for some issues they might have. In the top right, you'll see the City Shaper theme, so things that people consider when they're building a community. And in the bottom left, you'll see that there's Playmakers. Bottom right is Replay. Those both combine to go along with this year's theme, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. So here is our agenda for this session. First, we'll talk about what is First LEGO League. It's basically broken down into 3 different categories. You have your core values that comes up throughout FLL. You have the big innovation project, and then you also have the robot game. I'll bring in some kids to tell you about, what does FLL mean to them in their own words. I'll tell you about the North Carolina affiliate. We'll talk about the university that is connected with FLL and how they support the program. I'll go into details of what our practices look like so that you can get an idea of how you can set up your practices. We'll also go into what a competition looks like, both at a regional level as well as a state level. I'll share what it takes to start an FLL team, both the costs, the scheduling, and then I'll give you some advice for some coaching, and then I'll just give you my final thoughts to wrap everything up. So what is First LEGO League? I've given you the definition from the FIRST website. FIRST is the organization that facilitates First LEGO League. FIRST stands for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. In years past, FIRST has had the FLL Junior Division, which is primarily for students in 2nd grade. And then they've had First LEGO League, which is for students in grades 4 through 8. After that, they have the First Tech Challenge and the First Robotics Competition. Both of those are designed for high school students. In this session, I'm just going to focus on First LEGO League. So when people think about FLL, First LEGO League, they automatically think about Legos. We're building things out of Legos. Maybe they're thinking about the robot game, which is a big part of FLL. I really feel like students naturally go through the engineering design process when they're working on the robot game. They're planning their solutions to solve the missions. They're testing their ideas, and it's not going to work right the first time, I can promise you. So they're going to have to go back and make changes to their robot, to the attachments to make it better, and test it again. That is a huge part of FLL, but my favorite part of FLL, and this is why I titled this session Facilitating Unforgettable Experiences, is the innovative project. And with that, students, they're able to research problems that are actually happening in their community. They're having these hands-on learning experiences for real-world problems, and that makes it so meaningful for them. They're able to meet people that they wouldn't have met without FLL. They're able to share their ideas with people that they wouldn't have without FLL. And I really think that part sticks with them for years to come. Now, next up we have Mr. Breyer, who is a principal in our district, and he's going to tell you about what FLL means to him and why he is an advocate of the program.
Hi, my name is Robert Breyer. I'm the principal at Cameron Elementary School, and I was asked to talk to you all about the first LEGO League. I absolutely love the first LEGO League. First LEGO League is basically like project-based learning on steroids. I mean, it is absolutely amazing. So yes, as the name indicates, you're working with Legos. And so the kids are given a task where they have to go and create this map and build all these different structures. And when they build these different structures, they are able to go through and they have to go and complete these different tasks that they are assigned in a certain amount of time and they get different points for it. So a lot of people, when they hear this, they automatically think, oh, this is for kids who are into computers and robots and coding. But that's not what it's all about. The thing I love the most about this project is it is tying in 21st century skills. Kids have to learn how to collaborate. Have to learn how to communicate. They have to learn to work together as a team. Each kid brings a special resource to that team, and they all have different responsibilities. And they have to be able to bring all those skills and just mindsets together and perform as a team. And that's how they get rewarded and scored in this competition. It is so neat to watch these kids work together. So this past year, I got to take them with Mr. Rogers, and we went out to one of the local community parks, and we met with the director of the parks. And he showed us how they built these buildings and things they had taken into consideration for the buildings that are being built on the premises. And he had taken into account the weather. He had taken into account how much it was going to be used, how the trees and all that were falling. And so it was just such a neat thing for these kids to experience and to hear. And they were able to get out of school and really kind of get a hands-on feel for what it is they were trying to investigate. And then the kids had to go back and they have to create a report and they have to go and research all these items and come up with a solution to a real world problem. And then they go and they have to create a presentation. We don't tell them how to present. They have all the tools and resources available to them, and it is up to them to develop a really impressive and original type of presentation of how they want to go and demonstrate their solution to the problem. And it's just so neat to watch these kids come together and watch them step out of their element and into this new realm that they're just completely not used to. And the experience it's going to give them for when they go to middle school and to high school is just unbelievable, the skills that they're gaining right now. I highly recommend this whole idea of the first LEGO League to every school and every administrator out there. I think it's something you need to invest in and really look at for doing for your school. Your kids will thank you. Your community will thank you. And honestly, your kids will absolutely love it. So I wish you all the very best. Thank you so much.
Something new for the 2020 season of First LEGO League is they have divided it into three different divisions. What was once First LEGO League Junior is now divided into First LEGO League Discover and then First LEGO League Explore. And then there's also First LEGO League Challenge. Let's look at the differences between those three. In First LEGO League Discover, this was formerly known as First LEGO League Junior, and this program is designed for students who are the ages of 4 to 6, and this is really just the introduction to First LEGO League. So it's really just designed to ignite those children's curiosity. They're focusing on hands-on learning using the Lego Duplo bricks that you see here. They're also introduced to the First LEGO League core values, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And then after that, there's First LEGO League Explore, which again was a part of the First LEGO League Junior program. But this is for children who are the ages of 6 to 10. And in this program, this is where they're introduced to some coding. They're using the Lego We Do 2.0 Lego kits, which you see here. And they're designing and coding some solutions to real-world problems using the Lego kits. And this season culminates in with a science fair where they have posters to show the problem that they're solving. They have the creation that they've built out of the Lego 2.0 kits and how they programmed it. And so they're just talking to people as they come around, explaining how they solved the problem in their unique way. And then we had First LEGO League Challenge. And this was formerly known as First LEGO League. This is designed for children who are the ages of 9 to 16. And this is where they research a problem in their community. They brainstorm some possible solutions. They create something on their own, or they improve upon a solution that already exists. And then they also focus on the robot game where they plan, design, and build a robot with different attachments to solve the missions on the robot game board. They're also coding and programming an autonomous robot which we'll talk about a little bit later. With First LEGO League Challenge, it really focuses on those soft skills, teamwork, communication, and they're able to engage with their community members, which is awesome. That's my favorite part. And at the end of the First LEGO League Challenge season, they participate in a regional qualifying tournament to really celebrate the season. We'll talk about what that tournament looks like a little bit later. For the First LEGO League Challenge program, students can use either a LEGO Mindstorm EV3 robot, which is what you see first. New for the 2020 season, students can choose to use a LEGO Spike Prime robot. Both of these robots can be programmed using an iPad, Chromebook, or a Windows-based machine, or if you have MacBooks, they can use those to program them as well. You can even program them using Bluetooth. So let's talk about the 3 big focus points in First LEGO League Challenge. The first is core values. Now, core values pop up from the First LEGO League Discover program all the way through the First Robot Challenge program. The core values are listed here: discovery, innovation, impact, inclusion, teamwork, and fun. These are things that the first program wants students to exhibit throughout the entire season. They want students to be mindful of these core values as they are participating in the program. And they want students to be able to explain how they have demonstrated these core values. And one way to do that is to create a poster. This is optional depending on the regional qualifying tournament that you attend. And the poster just basically shows pictures of examples of how your First LEGO League kids demonstrate these core values throughout the season. So you'll see my example here. We've got different pictures of things we've done throughout the season. And then I have my students type up little captions to go along with those pictures that really explain how the students have demonstrated those core values throughout the season. At the tournament, there will be a section of awards dedicated to the core values. And so this is something that you can use as a motivating factor for your students. It's something if we show that we're a good team, we work well together as a team, this is something that we can be recognized at the tournament at the end of the season. Next up, we have a student who is a veteran of the First LEGO League program, and they're going to share some of the reasons why they really enjoyed being a part of it.
I've been a part of the First LEGO League program for 3 years, and I really like it because it gave me a big chance to experiment with different roles on a team, and it's a really good way to build a team and see how you work with other people. And my favorite part was the project because it had a lot of problem solving and impact.
Speaking of the project, I want to share some more details about the innovation project. So first, they research and identify a problem that's linked to the theme for that season. Then they can either design a brand new solution to that problem, something they've created from scratch, or they can improve upon a solution that already exists. Then they should create a model or a prototype of their solution. Now, this doesn't have to be really expensive. This can be something that was created with materials around their house. And I'll show you an example of a prototype on the next slide. Then they need to share their solution with a meaningful audience, someone that can provide some purposeful feedback on how they can use their solution in the real world, ways they can make their solution even better. And finally, they need to work on an engaging presentation that they'll do at the tournament. This is a 5-minute presentation. It could be a skit, dance, a song. I'll show you a little bit later. We've done puppet shows. But a unique way to share their ideas, something that will set their presentation apart from another team. So here is an example of a prototype that we created during the Into Orbit season. This was something they called the Remedy Patch. This was a therapeutic garden that they developed for astronauts to use in space. So this wasn't necessarily something that was a nutritional thing. This is more of a therapeutic thing. And they spoke with different gardeners about plants that were good for therapy. They also talked to horticulturists to figure out the best ways to grow those plants in space. And you can see this was made from materials they had around the house. We didn't spend a big bunch of money on this, but it was something they could use to illustrate their idea. Talking with experts is a huge part of your innovation project. This is something that you may have to facilitate as a coach, but this will make the project much more meaningful for your students. And you'll see in these videos that I'm sharing with the students, that comes up a lot about how they were able to talk to these different experts, whether it's a firefighter. We're talking about a project with natural disasters, and firefighters are the first responders to these natural disasters. So we're talking about how our bag could help people when they're experiencing a natural disaster. We spoke with the Parks and Rec director when we're developing a solution to problems that people who are blind or maybe deaf, the problems they may have in a park, so working on those accessibility things. We spoke with someone from the Army who talked about how we can get water to people who are in desperate need of receiving water. We spoke with someone from Red Cross, again focusing on natural disasters and the effects of natural disasters. And then finally, we spoke with a college professor who came in to talk to us about how people are developing cities that are green, that have net zero as far as the amount of energy that they're using. So again, highly recommend FLL, and this is one of the biggest reasons why, is because you get to meet these people that you wouldn't have if you weren't a part of this program. Here's another student who participated in FLL sharing their thoughts on why they really enjoyed it and why they had so much fun being a part of the program.
FLL is such a fun experience as you meet so many new people and get out of your comfort zone. You also learn a lot with people and with the project that you're working on. There's something for everyone in FLL, whether you like designing robots, making the attachments, or you like programming robots, or just doing work on the project, researching and reaching out to people. There's something for everyone as you're pushed out of your comfort zone to have such a great time and meet so many new people and have so many good experiences. I would encourage anyone who likes robotics, or even if you're new to robotics, to try FLL. It's a lot of fun.
This is a creative way to demonstrate your project at the tournament. This group created a puppet show to highlight their idea. You can see that they're using materials picked up from a local craft store. It's not something that we spent a lot of money on, and it's something that the students created themselves. I did not create this for them. During the presentation, the judges will know if it's something that the coach has created compared to something that the students created. They have 5 minutes to give their presentation, but there's also an opportunity for the judges to ask questions from the students. During the presentation, you want all the students to participate. Everybody needs to have a role in the presentation, whether it's a speaking role or just something different. But the judges will know if the students have done the work compared to the coach doing all the work. But again, you want to make it unique. You want it to be exciting. You want the kids to have fun and really make it engaging. And there are some awards that are given out at the end of the tournament based on the presentation. The last big chunk of FLL is the robot game. The robot game consists of 14 different missions. Throughout the season, your team should be building and programming a robot to complete as many of these missions successfully as they can in 2.5 minutes. The robot should have all the programs downloaded onto it prior to those 2.5 minutes, and when the time starts, your team just runs the programs and the robot goes out and solves the missions on its own. Again, you can build your robot from the Lego Mindstorm kit or the Spike Prime kit. You see from this picture, this was last year's robot game field from the City Shaper Challenge. At the beginning of August, usually around the beginning of August, first we'll start sending out the Legos, and either you or your team can assemble the missions for each of the missions from the game. They'll give you the mat as well as those Legos and directions on how to put the missions together, exactly where they go, Making sure you put them where they go is very important because, again, your robot will have the missions on it already, and you want your robot to go exactly where it's supposed to, and you want the missions to be exactly in the right location. Each mission has a different point value based on how difficult the mission is. They also have some lines on the mat. If you're using a color sensor, you can try to follow those lines to be more precise. And from last year, you'll notice there was a bridge. So half of the bridge was on your mat, and there was a mat that was from a different team would be up against yours, and that bridge would connect those two mats. And the robots could actually, at the end of the 2.5 minutes, they could drive up the bridge, and if you were at the top of the bridge, you scored more points based on if you're at the bottom of the bridge. And sometimes those two robots would meet each other at the top of the bridge, so that was pretty interesting. When you're creating your robot, there are lots of different ways that you can build your attachments. This is where the engineering design process really comes into play, where you try to build your attachments to solve specific missions. You can put your attachments on and off as long as the robot returns to the home area. You can incorporate sensors into your robot, whether it's a touch sensor, the light color sensor, like I mentioned earlier. There's also the ultrasonic sensor that will detect distances. And these are all sensors for the Mindstorm EV3 robot, which is the one that we've used. I've not used the Lego Spike just yet. On the right side of your screen, you'll see that there's a robot that has lots of different attachments, and they use the sensor a lot, but it's not required. These are all optional. You can even have up to 4 different motors on your robot. You'll notice in the picture in the middle, there is a motor that's connected to a claw that would open and close. So your students can really get creative on how they design their robot. And then also you'll be programming the robot. The Lego Mindstorm EV3 program is a little bit unique. There are lots of different tutorial videos out there, but you can also use a program like Scratch to program your robot. It doesn't have to be the Lego EV3 program. When you're creating your programs, they like for you to print out the finished program with notes that explain the different steps along the way. That will really help the students explain how they have created their program. There will be a judging room that they go into where they talk about how they designed the robot as well as how they programmed the robot. So this will be very helpful in that room. Here's another student that participated in First Lego League to tell you why they like being a part of the program.
Well, mainly I like being with my friends first of all, and I want to go to school for engineering, and this is a good start. It's a good start if you want to go build and create your own things. Making robots, it was really fun. It got my mind walking on how exactly we could do different things in the projects, how we could, what attachments we needed, what we needed to do.
So now I want to talk about the affiliate for First Lego League in the state of North Carolina. North Carolina A&T University works with First Lego League as well as First Tech Challenge. And Shayla Sharp is the event organizer. She's in charge of the logistics. You'll get some emails from her, and you'll see her at some of the events. She's very helpful. She does a good job of communicating through emails. Sam is the head referee, so you'll see him during the robot game. He'll have a hat on. He's really cool. What I like most about him is that he relates well to the kids, and we've had some issues with our robot and some scoring, and he's always been really sympathetic to the kids, and I like Sam. He's a great guy. And then Fiona Last Powell, she is usually the one who announces the awards at the end. She does a great job of getting the kids going and gets them excited, and she really makes it fun. Another thing that I want to talk about is the kickoff that they have at the beginning of each season at NCA&T. So they'll have lots of different sessions for both rookies and veteran teams to tell you even more about the First Lego League program. They'll have some kids there who have participated to tell you about their experiences. They'll have coaches there to give you some advice. And this is usually an all-day thing on a Saturday. But I really highly recommend going to the Kickoff. And this year they had it virtually, so they had recorded all their sessions that you can find on their website. And again, on that previous slide, ncfll and ftc.com. That's where you can find all of those videos, as well as some contact information for those folks at NCA. Now let's talk about what our practices typically look like. At the beginning of each practice, I usually have a team builder, and this is like a 5-minute thing. It has nothing to do with the presentation, the project, or the robot game. This is like an icebreaker type of activity, and this really lends itself well to some of the core values within First LEGO League, whether it's having fun, working together as a team, making sure everyone is included and participating in the activity. But this is just a good way to kind of ease into the practice. From there, we start our practice, and you'll notice that students kind of naturally gravitate towards one part of First LEGO League, whether it's the robot game and programming, or maybe it's working on the project, or maybe it's working on the presentation. And I let my students choose those leadership roles. Now, that's not to say that they only focus on that throughout the entire season. You need to make sure your students understand what their project is about. They need to understand what their presentation is, and everyone needs to have a role in that presentation. They also need to understand our strategy for the robot game, because the judges are going to ask them about it, and they need to be able to speak to those things at the tournament. At the end of each practice, I make sure we fill out one of our engineering notebooks for the day. And this is an example of what they'll do. They'll just write the name, the date, their names. I like to start with the goals for today, things that we're focusing on for that practice, what worked well, and then the next steps moving forward whenever we have our next practice, and then also some documentation. So as a coach, I try to take as many pictures as I can, and to stay organized, I like to put those here in the engineering notebook as well. And what I do is I create a template for the engineering notebook, and it's in Google Docs, and then I set that to make a copy. Once a student opens it, it forces a copy of that template, and then from there, the students fill them out, and then the students share them back with me, and I put them in a folder to bring to the competition. Now let's talk about what a competition looks like. This will be a very exciting day for you and your students in FLL. It will be an all-day event. Expect to get there early. Expect to stay there till close to 5 p.m. I'd like to tell parents that this is not a very good spectator sport. It is not a lot of action going on the entire time. But it's a great day. It's the culminating event. It's a way to celebrate your season. And so the kids are going to be excited. You'll be excited. And here's what you can expect. So what you see here are a list of swap items. I'll get to that in just a minute. But you want to make sure your team is prepared at the competition. So you want to make sure you bring everything that they'll need. Their robot, any attachments that they've created, maybe some spare Lego parts just in case something happens to one of those attachments. You can rebuild it at the competition. Maybe a spare brick or battery for the robot. Maybe a drop cord or a surge protector to charge the battery just in case. You want to make sure you bring everything for the presentation, whether it's costumes, props. You want to make sure you bring the poster if they've created one. You want to make sure you bring anything for the parade. There's usually a parade at the competition. So maybe a nice banner that has your team number and maybe your school or your team name, something your kids can carry as they walk around through the parade. The parade's really cool. They announce each team. Everybody's there cheering them on. So that's a really cool part of the day. They usually have that either before or after the robot game. So the parade's pretty cool. Make sure you bring something for that. You also want to make sure you bring a swap item. So at the competition, one of the cool things is that your kids will be able to meet other teams from other schools, and a really good way to break the ice when you're meeting someone is to have a swap item. So We've done buttons before with our team number and our team logo, pencils, business cards, stickers, lanyards, bookmarks. We've also had one team bring something that was connected to their innovation project. They were working on making a trail that was for people who had some disabilities. So they thought about bringing flower seeds that you could kind of plant along the trail. So that was cool. So make sure you bring all the things that your team will need. Once your team gets to the competition, there'll be a pit area. This is usually in the cafeteria or a big open space where the teams can set up their table. This is kind of like their home base for the day. There'll also be a coaches meeting where the event organizer will bring all the coaches together and talk about the specifics for the day, kind of the schedule for the day, any special rules or changes that have been made for that day. And then you'll start with your judging. There will be 3 rooms your students go into for judging. In this picture, this is one of my teams. We're waiting outside of the judging area. This will be a very action-packed part of the day for your students because they'll do their judging back to back to back. One room, and this is not in any particular order, one room for judging will be the robot design, where they bring their robot in to the judging room. They explain why they have created the robot the way they did, their robot strategy for solving the missions. They talk about the programming. This is where you need to have those sheets with the codes and the explanations of the codes. Then another room will be a core values room. This is where they'll be given a random activity, a random team building challenge. The students won't know what the challenge is ahead of time, but they're not really judging based on how successful they are, but how well they work together as a team. This is where having some T-shirts that match, or maybe some costumes, or some flair, maybe some cool hats that they can wear to kind of differentiate themselves from other teams, to show that they really are a team and they're unique. And then finally, you're going to have your presentation. So this is your 5-minute presentation where you're sharing your innovative project. This is where you have your skit, your dance, your song, your puppet show, whatever it might be. You're explaining how your team has created their innovative solution to the problem for that year. First LEGO League also provides rubrics that the judges will use in their room. This is nice because your students will get some individualized feedback. You'll get these rubrics back at the end of the day, but you also get these rubrics at the ahead of time so that you guys can prepare for what to expect in those judging rooms. Now, after the judging, there's usually lunch, maybe you'll have your parade, and then you get into the robot game. So you'll have 2 practice rounds where you can go down to the tables and practice your robot runs. There will also be some boards, some tables on the side that you can sign up to practice at your own time. And then you'll have 3 robot game rounds. And again, these are 2.5-minute timed rounds. You'll have 2 of your students at the table at the time. Your students can sub in and out if they want to. If they have a specific mission that they are an expert in, they can sub in and out, but only 2 people at the table at a time. And they will take your highest score from those 3 rounds. It's just one score, whatever your highest score is, that will be your score for the robot game. And then at the end of those robot game rounds, you will get one of these score sheets. That way you'll know how many points your team has earned from that round. One of the students from your FLL team will need to look over it, and they'll actually initial it before it's approved, and then that is going to be your score for that round. And then everybody's favorite part is the award ceremony. At the end of the day, all the teams get back together and they'll give awards. And here are the categories for the awards. You'll see that there's lots of opportunities to get an award. And if you are lucky enough to get one, congratulations. We've got a couple, and our teams really cherish those recognitions. FLL is hard. It's a long season. You put in a lot of work, and it's really nice to be recognized for the work that you put in. The regional qualifier is what your team will participate in first at the end of the season. You'll see these coaches here are at their computers. They're all together because the regional qualifiers fill up quickly, and you want to make sure you're at a computer at the time that it's released so that you can get the date and the location that your team needs, because again, they fill up really fast. And so depending on the location, there could be 18, 24 teams at each regional qualifier, and only a percentage of those, based on how many teams are at the competition, only a percentage of those make it to the next level, which is the state championship. The state championship is at North Carolina A&T University in Greensboro, and this is a 2-day event. It's a Saturday and a Sunday, and it's a great day. If your team is lucky enough to advance to the state championship, it's really exciting. There's a lot of people there. You'll get to meet a lot of other teams that have been successful and kind of get some advice from them for the next season. You'll be able to see different robot designs, and they'll have some games and activities for students to do during the downtime. And it's a great day, and hopefully your team will be lucky enough to experience the state championship. Next up, we have a parent who's going to share how she felt about her daughter participating in First LEGO League.
My daughter participated in First LEGO League last year. The program afforded the students the opportunity to both collaborate and communicate on a daily basis, as well as in a high-pressure situation. They were able to exhibit their creativity, work on public speaking skills, and expand their problem-solving skills. The students grew both individually as well as a team, while working on their leadership skills.
If you're interested in starting your own FLL team from scratch, here are some things I want to pass along to kind of help you get started. So this is one of the most important parts of starting an FLL team, is thinking about the expenses that go along with it. Now, these are costs based on the 2020-2021 season. The first thing you'll need to do is register with the National FLL program. That'll give you your team meeting guides, engineering notebooks, if you're interested in using those. They do provide some for you to use at your team meetings. And then access to purchase the challenge mat. That costs $225 with a $12 shipping and handling expense. And then from there, you'll need to buy the replay challenge set, which will include the Legos, the directions on how to assemble the Legos, the mat for the robot game, and that's $75 with a $15 shipping and handling expense. I also want to include some additional expenses that you should prepare for, things like costumes, swap items to bring to the competition, t-shirts for your team, project supplies, maybe some props that you're using with the presentation. Budget around $150, give or take, for those expenses. If you don't have the LEGO Mindstorm EV3 kit, right now that's $475, and then the LEGO Spike Prime is $375. We do fundraisers throughout the year. We'll raise money for our FLL team. We also are fortunate enough to have some families who are able to sponsor our team. We also try to reach out to local communities to sponsor our team. You can also look into getting some grants from your area to help with the cost of First LEGO League. Please don't let these numbers scare you away from having your own FLL team. It is well worth it. I also want to give you an idea of how we schedule out our First LEGO League season. At the beginning of the year, around August, we have a district-wide kickoff camp where we bring in all of our First LEGO League teams across the district. This is usually a 2 to 3 day event. That's about 6 hours each day. This is something that you could potentially look into as a way to raise money for your FLL team. It's a great way to get teams to collaborate with each other. You can start working on your robot, your attachments for your robot. You can start thinking about researching some problems for the innovative project. And then from there, we try to have practices at least twice a week at the beginning of the season. Those are like 45 minutes to about an hour, depending on whether you can have it during school or maybe after school. But we try to meet more frequently when the tournament gets closer. Every now and then we try to have half-day practices. Maybe it's close to a holiday where kids aren't in school, maybe on the weekend. And then we usually have a district-wide scrimmage, and this is like a half-day event close to the tournament. And you can make this so that they go into the 3 different rooms and practice giving their presentation, practice talking about the robot design, practice a core values challenge. Or you can make it more informal, where you just give them a few hours to work on whatever they need to work on before the tournament starts. And here are a few tips that I've learned along the way from being a coach. You want to try to be a facilitator for your team. You want to try to set up some structure for them, but you want them to do the work. The judges will know when it's something you've done compared to something the students have done. Try to be flexible. You might have an idea of the plan for the day, and then the kids start working and they want to do something totally different. So try to be flexible with them. Make sure that the project is meaningful for them, something that that they have like a vested interest in. And when you have that, they're going to put more effort into it. That'll be something they actually care about, so they'll be more passionate about it. The robot's going to mess up. It's going to happen. The robot's going to malfunction. Something's going to break. You're not going to be able to download your program correctly. It's not going to communicate with your computer the right way. So try to be flexible with the robot as well, and try to be organized. We have those engineering notebooks where we write down our notes for the day. Try to have an idea of what you want to do for that week, for that day, as far as goals for the practice. And then at the end, celebrate your season. Have a party at the end of the year. We usually have some kind of pizza party or something, and we want to make sure we're celebrating all the hard work we put into First Lego League. Here's another veteran FLL student to tell you why you should consider being a part of the program.
You should join First Lego League because it takes a lot of different interests. Even if you were only interested in learning about technology, or you're only interested in customizing for a team, or just the project part and helping out in the community, it takes all 3 of those aspects and different skills and puts them into a team where people have their own specialty.
I did want to tell you a little bit about the plans for the 2020-2021 season. They are going to have a First Lego League season. It'll just all be virtual. And it's $75. You have until November 20th to register your team for the virtual season. And they're going to have some scrimmages remotely that you can participate in. And then the qualifying tournaments will also be virtual. So you would just record your robot going through the run and submit that to your judges. And then you would also meet with the judges virtually for the core values, robot design, and presentation. They're going to have they call it a treasure chest. So it looks like instead of doing swap items, you would turn things into the treasure chest, and then you would get something from a different team, I assume, which is kind of cool. So it's nice to see that they're still trying to have the First Lego League season with the coronavirus going on. Thank you so much for checking out my presentation. I really do appreciate you sticking through it to the end. If you made it this far, I wanted to give you my email address and my Twitter handle. If you had any questions, please feel free to reach out. If you had anything else you want to know about First Lego League, I'd be happy to try to answer those for you. And please, if you haven't already, please consider being a coach. It's the favorite part of my favorite part of what I do. It is time consuming. It's a little bit stressful at times, but it's very rewarding. I highly recommend being a part of the program. And finally, here is the link to fill out an evaluation for my session. The link is case sensitive, and it is specific to my presentation. If you fill this out, you'll receive 0.1 DLC CEUs. The deadline to complete it is Monday, November 30th, and then certificates will be sent out on Tuesday, December 1st. Thank you so much. Have a great day.